Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hello children, I welcome you all to our online teaching academy Ekalaiva. Today for your English class we are going to learn a new poem. The name of the poem is Tiger and the poet is Leslie Norris. Let me introduce you to the poet before we start learning the poem. George Leslie Norris, he was a prize-winning Welsh poet. Children, Welsh means it is a place called Wales. The poet belonged to a place called Wales, which is near England. He was a Welsh poet. Welsh is a language. People staying in Wales used to speak Welsh as well as English. So, he was a famous Welsh poet as well as a short story writer, and he is considered as a most important writer in the post-war period. He wrote a lot during the end of the Second World War. And there are a lot of his poems are together compiled as the complete poems of Leslie Norris. The collected poems containing work from his dozen volumes and the collected stories of Leslie Norris published in 1996. So, all his poems and all his short stories were published together in the year 1996, and it won many accolades and prizes and also many appreciation. Let's read the poem and understand it, children. Now, we all know that the tiger is an enormously strong and mighty animal. It's a very ferocious animal, isn't it? Yes. Where does a tiger really belong? Does he belong to a cage in a zoo or a jungle? So, where does the tiger belong to, children? We have seen a tiger in a cage, in a zoo, or a tiger is being used in a circus also to perform many feats to entertain the people, isn't it? But where does the tiger belong? Really, the tiger's real home is its jungle, isn't it? In which of these he is likely to be happier? In which of these will the tiger be happy? Will the tiger live happily? Here in this situation or in this situation? This is what the poet is trying to talk in this poem. He is trying to say where the tiger really belongs, whether to the jungle or to a small cage in a zoo. Let's begin reading the poem. Stanza 1. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. Now, the tiger is living inside the cage. So, he is walking to and fro. He stalks means paces to and fro, walks to and fro. In his vivid stripes. Vivid means bright and clear. Bright and clear. Now, we all know that a tiger has a bright yellow skin and bright black stripes. So, he is walking to and fro inside his cage with his bright black stripes. The few steps of his cage. Here it is mentioned as the few steps of his cage because the cage is very small and he can only walk within the limited space of his cage. So, the cage provided to him is very small compared to the jungle where he was living. So, the cage is very small and it is just He could walk only few steps to and fro his cage. On pads of velvet quiet. On pads of velvet quiet means the foot of the tiger is very soft, and so we can't hear the footsteps. The foot of the tiger is compared to velvet over here. So when he is walking, it is very quiet because we are not able to hear his footsteps. In his quiet rage. Rage means anger. In his quiet rage, yes, the tiger is angry. Why? Because he has been brought from his jungle to a small cage. So he is quiet and he is angry because he can't do anything other than walk inside his cage and express his anger. He has to remain quiet and he has to express his anger. So the tiger is quiet and at the same time expressing his anger by walking to and fro within the limited space of his cage. Now if you observe, the tiger is inside his cage. He is just walking to and fro with his vivid stripes quietly because he is very angry because he is brought from his jungle to the limited space of his cage. He can do nothing now other than walk his cage to and fro and express his anger. Normal life be. Now he is living in the cage, isn't it? But if he was free in his jungle, what would he be doing? Let's see. He should be lurking in shadow. Lurking means he will be hiding. He would be hiding in the shadow and waiting for his prey. Prey. Sliding through the long grass. He will be walking quietly in the jungle. We all know very well, when the tiger walks, we can't hear its footsteps because it has very soft foot like velvet, as the poet mentioned in the first stanza. So he just slides quietly, he walks quietly through the grass of the jungle and waits there quietly for the deer to come and drink water in the water hole, in the water bodies where the deer come to quench their thirst. When the deer comes to quench their thirst, plump deer over here means fat, nice fat and cute deer. When they come to quench their thirst, the tiger is ready to pounce on them and to attack them and to make it its prey. So this is what the tiger will be doing if he was free in his jungle. But now he is helpless and he is living in his cage. Now, if the tiger was free, he will be sliding quietly through the grass. He will be walking quietly through the grass and he will be walking quietly through the grass waiting for his prey. When the deer comes, immediately he will pounce on them. He will pounce on them and have his prey. This is what the tiger will be doing if he was living his normal life. Now let's move on to the third stanza. Stanza 3. He should be snarling around the houses at the jungle's edge. What the tiger will do if he was free? He will be snarling. Snarling means making noise to frighten people. Snarling means making some noise. Snarling means making noise to frighten the people. At the jungle's edge, where will he go to frighten people? There may be villages on the outskirts of the forest, isn't it? So the tiger will go to the outskirts of the village and frighten the people over there. How will he frighten? Baring his white fangs, his claws. Baring his white fangs means showing his fangs, his teeth. Fangs means his sharp teeth. His sharp teeth and sharp claws. Claws means its sharp nails. He will show his sharp teeth and his sharp nails and frighten all the people on the village. Terrorizing the village. Terrorizing means scaring everybody in the village. Now, if the tiger was free, he could do also this. So, the poet is saying, if the tiger was free, he will be living happily in the jungle, trying to catch a deer for his prey. Or what will he do? He will go to a village on the outskirts of the jungle and try to frighten the people there by making noise and using his sharp teeth and claws. He will terrorize everybody. Stanza 4. But he is locked in a concrete cell. Now, what is the plight of the tiger? The tiger, which should be living a happy life like that, is now locked inside a concrete cell. Concrete means a building made of building material like cement, mud, stone, etc. So, he is inside a concrete cell. A concrete cell means the cage. Now, the tiger is helpless. It is living inside its cage. His strength behind bars. His strength is just useless now. He cannot apply it anywhere. He can only live inside the cage. It is restricted to the boundary of his cage. He cannot do anything. Though he is a mighty and ferocious animal, his strength is now behind the bars of his cage. Stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now he can just walk to and fro his cage. He can just move within his cage and he ignores the visitors because he is helpless now and he is not interested in the people who come to see him, because the tiger doesn't know why he has been brought and locked inside this cage. But there are many visitors who come to the zoo to see the tiger. The mighty, ferocious animal is now reduced to a showpiece for entertainment and fun. Now the tiger, who is very much angry that he is locked inside the cage, doesn't know all this and he walks inside his cage ignoring the visitors. He doesn't bother about the visitors who are coming there to see him. Stanza 5. This is the last stanza. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Now, he is living at the zoo, and at night, the zookeeper or the zoo guard will go around patrolling to check if everything is fine. Now, the tiger who is living in the cage can only hear the patrolling sound, and he just stares at the stars in the sky because he can do nothing other than just staring, because now his freedom is curtailed, his movement is restricted, and the tiger is helpless. He just lives quietly in his cage with his anger, staring at the stars. Now, let's learn the literary devices or the poetic devices used in this poem. He stalks in his vivid stripes. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Now, the poetic device used here is alliteration. Alliteration means words beginning with the same consonant sound appearing in the line of a poem. Words of the same consonant sound which is repeated in the line of a poem is called alliteration. Now, he stalks in his vivid stripes. S and S is repeated. So, it is known as the alliteration. Now, he, if you observe he, an animal, tiger, is referred to as he throughout the poem. So, the poet over here personifies the tiger. It is known as personification. Personification means giving human attributes to non-humans. Here the tiger is being referred to like a human being, like as he. So, the poet personifies the tiger as he. And the next figure of speech is on pads of velvet is a metaphor. A metaphor is a comparing device. Here, the tiger's paws of feet are compared with velvet. So, the tiger's paws are referred to be velvet, which is very soft. So, it is a metaphor. In stanza 2, also we have alliteration. He should be lurking in shadow. The same consonant letter is repeated in the line S and S. He should be lurking in shadow is the alliteration. Then in the line, where the plump deer pass, P and P, words beginning with the same consonant sound repeated in the line of a poem is called alliteration. So, plump and pass, here is the alliteration, P and P. Then again we have another alliteration in the 4th stanza. He is locked in his concrete cell. Here C and C is the alliteration. Then his strength behind bars, B and B is the alliteration. In stanza 5, again we have an alliteration. He hears the last voice at night, that is the alliteration. Now, the figure of speech the poet applies throughout the poem is imagery, because by describing the various activities of the tiger, the poet gives us a clear picture about the tiger as to what he will do when he is in the cage and what he will do when he is free. So, that is known as imagery. He gives a very clear picture about the various activities of the tiger. To receive our online lessons, please press the subscribe button to receive the latest updates. Thank you very much.